Hello, everyone. This is Miss Byer here. And today in Social Studies, we are going to learn about New York State symbols. I know some of us might have already learned about a few symbols in our classes, but together we're going to review them and maybe learn some new ones. So first, what's a symbol? A symbol represents something. So here I have the New York state flag. The United States of America has a flag, but then each state has its own flag to represent its own state. So here is New York State's flag. The first thing I want to talk about is the capital. What's a capital? Some of us might know that Washington, D.C. is the capital of the United States. But each state has their own capital where they make laws for that state. So New York State capital is Albany. Here is an outline of the state. We're somewhere down here. And then up north from us is Albany, which is our state capital. Did you know that New York has a state fruit? I'm going to give you a second to shout out some guesses of what you think the New York State fruit might be. All right, drum roll, please. It's an apple. I'm sure some of you might have said apple. And maybe you were even thinking of New York City, where we all live, the Big Apple. Okay, let's take another second to shout out some guesses for the New York State vegetable. Drum roll. Corn. Yummy. I know, I love some corn. Next, we're going to look at our New York State insect. What do you think the New York State insect might be? Think about some insects you see quite a lot. All right, hopefully you've shouted out a few guesses. Drum roll, ladybug. The New York State insect is a ladybug. Okay, our last symbol we're going to look at is the New York State fish. Okay, hopefully you've shouted out some guesses. It's a trout. Very cool. So what we're going to do now, first graders, is we are going to make a flip book of all of our New York State symbols. So you can pause the video here to gather all your materials. You need 2 pieces of blank paper, a stapler and scissors, markers, colored pencils, or crayons. It doesn't need to be all of these. You can just pick one that you might have. Then you need to download and print out the New York symbol worksheet. That will have a blank picture of all of the symbols that we've just talked about. If you don't have one of these, that's okay. Just grab something close to it. And then once you're ready and you have all your materials, you can continue our video and learn how to make our flip book. Okay, first graders, I have set up my materials that I'm going to need in order to make my flip book. I have 2 pieces of blank paper. I downloaded and printed out the New York symbol worksheet. I have my crayons, but you can use colored pencils or markers. And then I also have my scissors and my stapler. I did find a nice big area that I can work at, and I also found a quiet area. So the first thing I want to do is I want to use my crayons and I want to color in my different pictures here. When I'm coloring in, I'm going to take my time because I am in no rush. And I am just going to color in all of them. So you can pause the video here until you have your whole sheet colored in. Okay, now that I have my whole sheet colored in, it's time for me to start to cut them out. Okay, when I want to cut them out, I don't want to cut exactly on the line. I'm going to leave a little bit of space and I'm going to bubble cut around my shapes, and I'm going to do it until all of mine are cut out. So you can pause here until you have all of your symbols cut out. Okay, so I have my 5 symbols cut out now. I'm going to just push them off to the side and grab my 2 pieces of blank paper. I want to lay them on top of each other, but not completely on top, maybe like an inch or 2 above. Do you see how I left about an inch of space before I laid the second one down? Then I'm going to just fold it in half and crease down my half. So now I have a little booklet that has different flaps to it. So I'll show you how to do that again. I have my 2 blank pieces of paper. I'm going to lay them on top of each other, but I'm going to leave about an inch of space on the first piece of paper. Then I'm going to take the 2 pieces and fold them down so I create this another gap. I see I left about an inch so that when I fold my paper, all of my flaps are around the same size. And you know what, first graders? It's okay if it's not perfect. You might need to try it again, and that's okay too. So now, once I have my booklet, I need to just use my stapler to put 2 big staples in so that way it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, now I can push my stapler off to the side because I don't need it. Then with my crayons, I'm going to come up with a title for my book. What is my book all about? It's about New York State symbols. Then it's also very important that I put my name on my work. Miss Fire. So yours should look like this. Now, on this first blank space here, I'm going to write New York State Capitol. So here. New York State Capitol. And you can use any color. Some of you might be using pencils. Some of you might be using markers. That's okay. So now on my first tab here, I have New York State Capitol. Who remembers what our capital is? You're correct if you said Albany. So now I'm going to flip up my first tab here so that I can glue down my state capital. Ooh, I'm going to need my glue stick. So pause your video and go get your glue stick because I believe I forgot to mention that. Okay, first graders, I got my glue stick too. I forgot to get mine. Okay, so now I'm going to glue down the state. And then I want to write what the state capital is. Because this is my booklet, I want to continue writing in my crayons just because I want it to look fun and colorful. So, what is the state capital? Oh, that's right, it's Albany. But I can't just write Albany, that's not a full sentence. So I'm going to write the New York state capital is Albany. And then I can't forget to add my ending punctuation. So this is what my first page of my flip book looks like. Okay. Now down here on my second tab, I want to write New York State food because I'm going to put my fruit and my vegetable in the same tab. So with a different color, because again, I want mine to look nice and colorful, I'm going to write New York State food. Who remembers what our state fruit is? Yep, it's an apple. And our state vegetable is corn. You got it. So I'm going to flip up my second tab here. So this way I'm looking at my tab that says New York State food. I'm going to find my apple and my corn and glue them down. But I want to leave some space in between the two so that way I have some space to write my sentences, because I just write them on top of each other. If I glue them on top of each other, I won't have anywhere to write. So I'm going to glue my corn on, and I think my apple needs a little bit more glue too. Okay, and if you don't have glue at home, you can use tape. Okay, now I need to write my full sentences about my fruit and vegetable. So, the New York State fruit is an apple, period. Then, I might use some space up here at the top, because if I start to write at the bottom down here, I get too close to my words here. So that way when I flip my book back, you might accidentally see some of my writing. So I want to make sure I leave plenty of space. So I'm going to write it up at the top here. I'm going to write the New York State vegetable is corn. So now my second page of my flip book will look like this. So pause it here if you need a second to catch up to me. Okay, now, so right now my booklet looks like this. I have my title page, and then when I flip it up, I have my capital. And then when I flip it up one more time, I have my fruit and my vegetable. So on my last tab here, I want to talk about the insect and the fish. So I'm going to say New York State animals. See, I'll get a new color. New York State animals. So your last tab should look like mine. New York State animals. Now I'm going to flip it up all the way. So I'm looking at that blank page above where I wrote New York State animals. And I'm using my glue stick. I'm going to glue down, who remembers our state insect? Yep, it's the ladybug. So I'm going to glue down my ladybug. And I'm going to leave some space so that I can glue down our New York State fish. Who remembers? It is. It's a rainbow trout. And I went back when I was coloring and I looked and I remembered that that trout had that red line across its belly. So I tried to get it too, but you can do your trout any way you want to. So I'm going to glue down my trout. Now I need my full sentences. The New York State insect is a ladybug. Period. I cannot forget to add my ending punctuation. Then I'm going to write about my fish. The New York State fish is a trout. Perfect. Ending punctuation. So now my last page of my flip book should look like this. So pause it here if you need to catch up. Then first graders, once you're done, you have an entire flip book of all the New York State symbols we talked about. So I'll review it. On the top, I have my New York State symbols, and then each time I open up my tab, I talk about a new symbol in New York. You may take a picture of the front of your flipbook, and that's what you can upload to your Google Classroom. I hope you had fun. Thanks, first graders.